You coming? Assalamu alaikum.
Oh. Speak for yourself, introduce yourself, sell yourself to all of us.
That's quite an interesting task that you've set for me, but I'll try to do my best. My name is Saif Al-Islam Khatak, as I've mentioned right now. I belong to district Karak from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. My father was a military officer. He was a doctor in the Army Medical Corps, and my childhood has been spent moving from one station to another. Upon his retirement, my family settled in Rawalpindi, where I completed my education. I did my matric from the Army Public School, Ordnance Road, and my FSc from the Fauji Foundation College, Rawalpindi. In both of these institutes, I have made it to the honor boards of these respective institutes. Moving on, I did my bachelor's in electrical engineering from NUST, the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Sciences. Upon my graduation, I gave the CSS exam, and after that, I've started writing for several national and international platforms, including nationally, it's Express Tribune. Internationally, I've written for the Diplomat, TRT World, Japan Times. I've been quoted by Foreign Policy magazine. So that's like one of my biggest achievements in terms of writing. I've written before that as well. I've published 2 poetry anthologies. One when I was 13, second when I was 16. And I've written a short story on the transgender community. Currently, I work as a foreign policy analyst at an Islamabad-based think tank. My preferences are Pakistan Administrative Services, Foreign Services of Pakistan, and Police Service of Pakistan in that particular order. When it comes to my values, there's one value that I greatly appreciate in myself. That's perseverance. Throughout my life, I've persevered through different challenges that have been set forth for me, and that one ability has led me to this particular chair. So that would be about me.
Thank you. So you hail from Karak.
Yes, sir.
That is a KPK province.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us a profile of KPK province? What
Sir,
is your province?
So KPK province has 5 divisions and 35 districts. It's so basically there are the Pashtun identity. There are several ethnic groups in KP. Primarily, it's Pashtuns, but there are Hazaras and there are other people as well. Hazara Hindu speaking Hazara as well, but Hazara from the Balochistan and the Central Asian steppes as well. Pashtun language, since I identify as a Pashtun, Pashtun language identity extends from the language Pashto. There are 2 primary dialects. One is Pashto and the other is Pakhto. Pashto is spoken in southern KP, and Pakhto is northern KP speaks Pakhto. My particular district, Karak, is borders Punjab, but my maternal side, which is Masood, my mother is a Masood. So that they hail from South Waziristan, which borders Afghanistan. So that would be my understanding of the whole province.
If the government of Afghanistan, they hire you
Yes, sir.
as an advisor to their government, in the current scenario, what you keep on learning in the newspaper, what you will advise them?
Sir, I would advise them to be inclusive. I understand that they do not have ample experience of governance because they've been running an insurgency for the past 40 years. So I would advise them to be inclusive, to try to stop the brain drain that's happening over there. And they're doing that. They're cognizant of the value of the expertise that other people bring. That would be my primary advice. Moving forward, I would try to get them to get in line with the expectations that have been set forth for them internationally, while not compensating or while not sacrificing their core values, which they deem to be Islamic, which they deem to be motivated by Islam. So that would be my advice to them.
By the way, the TLP is demonstrating.
Yes, sir.
And what is your advice to the government of Pakistan?
Sir, I think TLP is quite a unique situation because we've had foreign groups working in Pakistan, but this is a domestically existing movement, and I feel that it's a tricky situation. And I do not feel that it should be resolved with strict measures. I understand that the reason I do not believe that it should be resolved with such strict measures is that the sentiments that are involved are religious, and Barelvi sect, being one of the largest sects in Pakistan, uh, identifies with that movement. So I feel for the government, I would say, and that's what they are doing right now, is to take a multifaceted approach, bring in ulama, bring in politicians to negotiate, and get to a point where mutual interests are explored. In the longer run, I would say that we work towards including this particular group in the governance system, so that they not only have the voice at platforms where they need to be, and the reason for, and it diminishes the reason for them to be at the street. So bring them into parliament, absorb them into the whole system, and that would be my approach for them.
Can you tell us,
yes, sir,
what are the positive and negative aspects of social media in the society?
Sir, social media is quite an interesting development that has taken center stage over the past few years. On the positive side, social integration. We interact with each other, we understand each other's value. There's a global culture that has emanated from social media. I know what people in America think, Americans know what we think. So in case of the Taliban, as you've mentioned, they've had a very interesting and proactive social media campaign to raise their voice. If without social media, we would not be hearing the stories that we hear from the Taliban. So as a medium for communication and medium for meeting expectations or conveying expectations, it's quite a positive platform. But on the other hand, if we see the Brexit vote referendum or the 2016 presidential elections, I feel that social media has played a negative role as well. It has created filter bubbles where people are fed the same thoughts all over and over again, and has therefore created polarization in our society. The solution for this would be regulation, and I think US is cognizant of that. They're currently working on antitrust measures. So that would be my view on social media.
How do you see the future of democracy in Pakistan?
I think the future of democracy is bright. We've had successive governments. Of course, there have been some challenges along the way, but the fact that we've had successive governments that we have not had in the past shows that we are progressing, albeit that progress might be slow, but it's progress nonetheless. So my outlook of democracy is bright.
Give me some good reason.
Okay. So
share some data.
Currently, any data does not come to my mind, but of course I'll look into it.
Do you think this regulation by PEMRA will be useful for the electronic media?
The PDMA regulation?
No, regulation. Because you said this.
Pakistan Media Development.
Because currently we used to watch Pakistani TV. I have stopped watching it.
Yes.
It is almost blank now.
I feel PEMRA has a very important role. I also feel that sometimes that role is a bit intrusive. So what we need to do is that we need to moderate our expectations, but we also need to define red lines that do not need to be crossed. So freedom should exist, but it should be within the constraints of the red lines that we've set. They should not go against the state. They should not attack or talk about our institutions. They should not raise religious controversies. I think that the debate on, or the verdict on, the Pakistan Media Development Authority is still going on. But to be honest, I am personally a supporter of it. I believe that we need to incorporate the social media angle into our media discourse, because right now there's a lot happening that we are not able to regulate or control. So that would be my 2 cents on it.
How you will differentiate fundamental rights with human rights? And what will be your priority, fundamental rights or human rights?
Sir, fundamental rights and human rights are inspired by fundamental rights. Their interpretations might be different, but that's one of the things that I've personally written about as well, that we do not have to impose the same definition of of human rights all over the world. They exist in different capacities. They emanate from different cultures. So my focus would be on fundamental rights rather than human rights, because I feel that human rights in itself derive from fundamental rights, and fundamental rights as our religion states have been stated in the Holy Quran, and it states it explicitly. So I think it's a good source to refer to when we are talking about this issue.
Thank you.
How do you see the merger of FETA in the KP province? How is it working?
I think it's an important step, particularly when it comes to inclusivity, because my maternal side belongs to South Waziristan, and which was part of FATA. I feel that there are grievances at this moment which are emanated by, or which are expressed by certain elements that sometimes go against the state. But I think that, again, inclusivity, which is the main essence of KP-FATA merger, should be our approach towards it. We should include them into the mainstream politics, include them in, which we are doing, set quotas for them in top universities, top ranking universities, NAST, LAMS, IBA, and other universities, government universities that can help bring up those people. Currently, there are a lot of people coming from FATA to Islamabad, which is, I feel, a positive step. There is an urban migration happening, and which results in a linkage between FATA and the center that exists in Islamabad. So I feel that it's a positive step. So that would be